Today, we are going to decode the complex psychology of human connection and, vulnerability and skill acquisition.
Yeah, which sounds like a massive topic.
It totally is. But the crazy thing is, we're going to do it using exactly 11 lines of dialogue. And it's dialogue written for English beginners.
Right. Just 11 lines.
Yeah, I know it sounds kind of wild to put this massive magnifying glass on what is literally a beginner's worksheet,
Definitely.
On the surface, it's this text titled A New Friend English Story, and the subtitle proudly announces it as a small story for English beginners.
It's as basic as it gets.
Exactly. We are looking at a grand total of 11 very short, grammatically basic sentences between two characters named Rahim and Sarah.
Yeah, and it does seem, counterintuitive to look for profound psychological insights in something so brief.
Right, like why bother?
Exactly. But that brevity is exactly why it is so valuable. Because when you strip away complex plots and elaborate vocabulary and just general external distraction...
You just get right to the core of it.
Yes. What you are left with is a raw, unfiltered microcosm of human interaction.
Wow, okay.
So our objective for this deep dive is to analyze this really highly concentrated interaction.
Yeah.
We want to extract the core mechanic of how we establish shared goals, how we navigate that immediate fear of failure, and the specific mindset required to master a new skill.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are treating these 11 lines not just as a language lesson, but almost as a blueprint for social psychology.
Exactly, a total blueprint.
And to do that, we have to start at the absolute beginning, because before any actual learning can happen, the text demonstrates that a safe social foundation has to be built.
Right. You can't learn if you don't feel safe.
Right. So let's look at the first exchange. Rahim initiates by saying, "Hello, my name is Rahim. What is your name?"
Classic intro.
Yeah. And Sarah responds with her name and adds, "Nice to meet you." And Rahim just mirrors her instantly. He goes, "Nice to meet you too."
Yeah, immediately bouncing it back.
Right. And then he probes for an identity marker. He asks, "Are you a student?" Sarah confirms, "Yes, I am," and turns it back to him like, "What about you?"
And Rahim replies, "I am a student too."
Exactly. So what is actually happening there?
Well, the rhythm of that exchange is highly deliberate. What we are witnessing is the rapid, almost instinctive establishment of parity.
Parity, meaning they're on the same level.
Right. They aren't just, killing time with pleasantries. They're actively scanning for a shared identity.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that mutual label of being a student is the essential first step. It completely lowers their social defenses.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, I know we're looking for deep meaning here, but isn't it highly likely they are just saying, "I am a student"? Because it's literally page 1, lesson 1 of standard ESL textbook vocabulary.
Right, like it's just rote memorization.
Yeah. Why should we read this as a deep psychological safety net rather than just, basic programming for beginners?
That's a very fair challenge. It really is. And yes, the vocabulary is basic by design, but we have to ask why language curriculums are designed this way in the first place.
Okay. Why are they?
Because the curriculum basically mimics human evolutionary psychology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, think about it. When you encounter a stranger, your brain's threat detection system, primarily the amygdala, is on high alert.
Right, the fight or flight thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are constantly evaluating whether this person is part of your in-group or an out-group.
Under foe.
Yes. So the moment Rahim and Sarah exchange that shared identifier student, the brain categorizes the other person as in-group.
Oh, I see.
The threat level immediately drops. You actually get a mild dopamine release when you find common ground.
A literal chemical reward.
Exactly. So while it is basic textbook vocabulary, it is leveraging a very real, very deep neurological mechanism to build safety.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like when you start a new corporate job.
Oh yeah, perfect example.
You're in this orientation, you feel totally out of your depth, and you turn to the person next to you and find out they are also completely confused by the company's software.
Right, you're both lost.
Yeah. You instantly bond over that shared lack of expertise. You're both the confused new guy.
Exactly, it's the exact same mechanism.
But wait, if that mirroring and common ground are so neurologically necessary to lower our defenses, what happens when you're in a situation where you and the other person have absolutely nothing in common to mirror?
Like you're completely different people.
Yeah. How does the safety net get built then?
Well, when there is no obvious shared identity, like a profession or a hobby or a status, the brain will just desperately search for a shared context,
What do you mean by context?
like the physical environment. If you have nothing in common with someone, the shared environment becomes the baseline.
Oh, like talking about the weather.
Exactly. You comment on the weather, or, the delay of the train, or how bad the coffee is in the waiting room.
Small talk.
Right. Because you are still trying to establish that you are both experiencing the exact same reality in that exact moment.
You're just trying to agree on something. Anything.
Yes. Once that micro-agreement is reached, the defenses begin to lower. But in the case of Rahim and Sarah, their shared identity as students accelerates this process dramatically.
And because that process is accelerated, we see this incredible whiplash in the very next line of the text.
Yeah, the tone completely shifts.
It really does. The safety net is established, and Rahim suddenly just drops the pleasantries. He says, I want to learn English.
Right.
And immediately after Sarah says, that's great, I practice English every day, Rahim follows up with, is English difficult?
It's quite a jump.
It is such a jarring pivot. 1 second, it's this bold, forward-looking declaration of ambition, and the very next second, it's pure, unadulterated fear.
What's fascinating here is how it perfectly captures the vulnerability of the beginner's mindset. Yeah. This is where cognitive dissonance and ego protection come into play. See, when a goal exists only in your head, it feels safe and attainable.
Because you haven't actually tried yet.
Exactly. But the moment Rahim vocalizes it, I want to learn English, he makes it real. And by making it real, he exposes himself to the possibility of failure.
Oh, wow. So the immediate follow-up question is English difficult? Isn't really a question about the language itself, is it?
Not at all.
It feels more like he's asking, do I have a built-in excuse if I fail at this?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. The human ego is remarkably fragile, especially when acquiring a new skill.
We don't want to look stupid.
Right. We inherently look for external factors to blame just in case we don't succeed.
So if it's the language's fault.
Right. If English is objectively difficult, then Rahim's potential failure isn't his fault. It's the fault of the language.
He is totally looking for an escape hatch before he even begins.
He is. He's trying to protect his ego just in case.
But Sarah completely shuts that escape hatch down, and I just find her response fascinating. She doesn't coddle him at all.
No, she doesn't.
Like, when he makes his initial declaration, she doesn't just offer empty emotional reassurance like, oh, you'll be wonderful, don't worry.
Which is what a lot of people would do.
Right. She bypasses the emotional handholding entirely. She says, that's great, I practice English every day.
Yeah.
She instantly anchors his abstract ambition to a concrete behavioral reality. She sets this architectural blueprint right out of the gate.
She does, and it's honestly a brilliant pedagogical move.
Because it shifts his focus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By introducing her own methodology before he even asks how to learn, she defines the terms of success. She shifts the framework entirely.
From the goal to the process.
Yes. The focus is no longer on the massive, intimidating mountain of learning a language. The focus is now solely on the daily step.
Which brings us to the core philosophy of this entire interaction. When Rahim asks that fear-based question, is English difficult? Sarah delivers a definitive, uncompromising answer.
Oh, I love this line.
Me too. She says, no, it is easy if you practice every day. And Rahim absorbs this and simply says, thank you for your advice.
That single word, no, carries immense weight in the context of this story.
Just flat out no.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text is presenting a highly specific philosophy that completely dismisses the concept of inherent difficulty.
So nothing is actually hard.
Basically, it argues that difficulty is not a fixed trait of the English language, or, of computer programming, or of playing the piano.
Right.
Difficulty is merely a symptom of infrequent practice.
I love this because it completely reframes how we think about acquiring skills. Here's where it gets really interesting. Usually people use the metaphor of going to the gym and lifting weights. Like, the weight is heavy, but if you lift it every day, your muscles grow and it feels lighter.
Right, that's the standard analogy.
And I think that's actually flawed because it implies you have to constantly strain and exhaust yourself. I look at Sarah's advice more like laying down train tracks.
Train tracks. How so?
Well, think about a massive locomotive. You can't steer a heavy train on dirt.
No, of course not.
It doesn't matter how hard you push the engine or how much coal you shovel into it, it will just sink into the mud.
Yeah.
It is impossibly difficult.
Right, a ton of effort for zero movement.
Exactly. But if you take the time to painstakingly lay down steel tracks, day after day, piece by piece, eventually that exact same massive train will just glide.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It requires a fraction of the energy. Building the tracks is the daily practice. Once the infrastructure is there, the actual movement becomes, as Sarah says, easy.
That is actually a much more accurate metaphor for what is physically happening in your brain during skill acquisition.
Really, the train track.
Yes. When we talk about practice neutralizing difficulty, we are actually talking about neuroplasticity.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure.
Huh?
Every time you practice a new language or a new skill, your brain sends electrical signals down a specific neural pathway. Initially, that pathway is bare, just like your dirt road in the train metaphor.
Yeah.
It's slow and it's really inefficient.
So it feels difficult.
Exactly. But with daily repetition, this fatty substance called myelin begins to wrap around that neural pathway.
Wait, myelin?
Yes, myelin, M-Y-E-L-I-N. It acts like insulation.
Oh, like insulation wrapping around a copper electrical wire.
Precisely like that. The more you practice, the thicker the myelin sheath becomes.
Okay.
And the thicker the myelin, the faster and more effortlessly the electrical signal travels.
So the signal doesn't leak out into the dirt, basically.
Exactly. So when Sarah says, it is easy if you practice every day, she isn't just offering motivational fluff, she is stating a biological fact.
That is wild.
Yeah. Difficulty is quite literally just a lack of myelination.
Wow.
Once the pathway is insulated through that daily repetition, the execution of the skill genuinely becomes effortless. The text demystifies the entire endeavor by reducing it to this biological, mechanical reality.
That is incredibly empowering. I mean, it strips away all the anxiety about whether you have, natural talent or whether you are smart enough.
It just becomes an engineering problem.
Right. Have you laid down the tracks? Have you wrapped the wire?
Exactly.
And because Sarah completely demystifies the process for him, Rahim accepts her framework without any hesitation. He says, "Thank you for your advice." And that moment of acceptance is the key that unlocks the ultimate thematic shift in this story.
The climax of the text.
Yes, because they have established safety, right? They shared their vulnerabilities and agreed on the daily mechanics of the process so they can finally upgrade their relationship.
They're ready for the next level.
Yeah, they move from being mere polite acquaintances to active collaborators. Sarah says, "You're welcome. Let's learn English together."
Such a great line.
And Rahim concludes the story with, "Yes, we can do it."
This is where the title of the text, A New Friend, is truly fulfilled.
It totally pays off.
Right. They aren't just two individual students occupying the same room anymore. They have forged an alliance.
I want to draw attention to the specific linguistic shift here, because it is brilliant.
Oh, the pronouns.
Yes. If you look back through the first half of the text, the language is entirely focused on the isolated self.
Right, like I and you.
Exactly. My name, are you, I am, I want, I practice. It is just an endless string of I and you. There are two separate islands.
Yeah.
But in these final two lines, those pronouns completely vanish. Sarah says, let us learn English together. And Rahim responds with, "Yes, we can do it."
The individual ego has been completely subsumed by the collective.
Yes.
This raises an important question, though, because that shift from I to we, it's the ideal outcome of any learning environment.
Right.
The text is modeling the reality that true mastery often requires community. By shifting from I to we, they are engaging in a really powerful psychological tool, which is the social contract.
Okay, let's dig into that. Because I think a lot of people listening right now might be trying to learn something on their own.
Very common.
Yeah, maybe studying for a certification or learning to code in their bedroom. Does this final exchange suggest that the ultimate hack for learning isn't just the daily practice that lays down the myelin, but the shared accountability they lock in at the very end?
Absolutely. Relying solely on your own internal motivation is a losing game.
Really? A losing game.
Yeah, because self-discipline is governed by the prefrontal cortex. And cognitive science shows us that the prefrontal cortex fatigues very easily.
So it runs out of juice.
Exactly. It's like a battery that drains throughout the day as you make decisions and manage stress. If you are the only one holding yourself accountable, the moment your battery is low, you will skip your daily practice.
You'll convince yourself that you deserve a break today.
Oh, definitely. You will rationalize failure effortlessly. I work hard today, I can skip just this once.
I've done that so many times.
We all have. But when you enter into a social contract, when you say, let us learn together, you are essentially outsourcing your willpower.
Outsourcing your willpower. I like that.
You are distributing the cognitive load. You aren't just practicing for yourself anymore. You are practicing to uphold your end of the bargain with your partner.
Because you don't want to let them down.
Exactly. Evolutionarily, human beings are wired to avoid letting down the tribe. We will push through personal fatigue to maintain our social standing and our relationships.
So binding your individual success to someone else's actually fortifies your own resilience.
Yes.
The burden of that daily track laying is too heavy to carry alone, but when it's shared, it becomes the foundation of both mastery and friendship.
Which brings us full circle to why this specific, simple text is so effective. It proves that learning a language, or any skill for that matter, is never just an academic exercise.
It's much deeper than that.
It is a deeply social, deeply human endeavor. You simply cannot separate the mechanics of learning from the mechanics of human connection.
So, what does this all mean? If we distill this entire deep dive down for you, the listener, what is the ultimate takeaway from these 11 lines?
Well, it's really a 4-step sequence.
Right. First, you have to actively seek out common ground to build a psychological safety net. Second, you have to be willing to voice your goals out loud, exposing your vulnerabilities and your fear of difficulty.
The ego stuff.
Exactly. Third, you must commit to the unrelenting mechanics of daily practice. You have to lay down those tracks and wrap the neural pathways to neutralize that difficulty. And finally, you have to find a partner to turn an isolating, exhausting journey into a shared mission.
It is a really profound sequence hidden in plain sight. The authors of this text managed to map out the entire psychological journey of skill acquisition using words that a first-week beginner can understand.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It strips away all the noise and leaves only the absolute fundamentals.
It really is a masterclass in brevity. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Something that builds on the reality of human nature beyond the page.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, the story ends on this incredible motivational high. Yes, we can do it.
Such a great feeling.
It feels fantastic. It's that surge of adrenaline you get when you buy a new gym membership or a huge stack of new books.
The honeymoon phase of a new goal.
Exactly, but motivation is an incredibly fleeting emotion. It is a spark, not the fuel.
Very true.
When tomorrow morning comes and, it's raining and that initial shiny spark of motivation has inevitably faded, how exactly will Raheem and Sarah hold each other accountable to that strict, everyday standard they just so enthusiastically set for themselves?
That is the real challenge.
Right. Building a social contract in a moment of excitement is easy. Enforcing it on a Tuesday morning when you're both tired, well, that is the real test of a new friend. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the foundations of learning and friendship. Until next time.